And I am on as well. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's episode 28 of Arknolia and the Doctor. Episode 28 of Music Memories, our series on the music scene from the start to finish here. And we're still continuing our garage rock, 1960s American band scene there. We covered a lot of groups from the 60s, ranging from the Grassroots, the Association, and other groups as well. We talked about the Jefferson Airplane, Mamas and the Papas, and we also mentioned other bands that are not that less known, but have had one hit or a couple here and now and then between 1960 and 1970 there, you know.
Yeah, and I got a long list of people that I thought we might at least mention too.
Yep.
So we'll get into them here when we're ready to go.
Yeah, but first of all, we want to bring this up here. And we talked about this earlier before we went on the air. I got this thing in my Gmail there, and I know you have as well, saying, Hi, Dr. Earl. A copyright owner using Content ID has claimed some material in your video. And they did the same thing with yours as well, Ark.
Right, and
Yes.
I have 6 subscribers and 2 or 3 people that listened. So what are they going to gain? Nothing.
Yeah, we don't usually gain that much viewership, even though we promote the hell out of this program here. But it says here in this notice, as a result, your video has been blocked in some countries. This means that your video is still up on YouTube, which is that last night's episode of our series there, but people in some countries may not be able to watch it. This is not a copyright strike, thank goodness for that. This claim
Right.
does not affect your account status. Good. And of course, it was, I guess what it was, the content that they were talking about was the Monkees' I'm a Believer.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't know about other countries, but in the U.S., you can play a certain length and get away with it with no copyright. I think it's 30 seconds or something like that.
Yeah,
And not only that, if you're promoting and or using it not for profit yourself, but promoting it for other people,
yes,
you can do it also.
yes.
And apparently that's not true in foreign countries.
Yeah, and the countries that this video, that last night's show was blocked in happens to be Cuba, Iran, North Korea, and Syria.
Like we're going to reach those countries anyway.
Yeah, I'm surprised if we have any people know who the hell we are either way, no matter what.
Yeah, we don't have that many followers here.
Now, what it does have here a thing called a YouTube audio library. That's what this notice mentioned here, which says, need copyright safe songs? When choosing music for your next video, you can avoid copyright related issues by picking a song with the YouTube audio library. We are adding new tracks all the time. Signed, the YouTube team.
And the thing is, we're not using them for self-promotion or anything.
No,
We're trying to push the artist. We're trying to get their songs played.
we're
We're
trying to
trying to help them.
We're trying to help the artists then get across to the people of today, because people of today, they're just so they're so stuck with their groups like Imagine Dragons, The Weeknd, Lana Del Rey, Billie Eilish, or whatever the hell fuck her last name is, all these artists out there that really have no fucking backbone to their material there.
Yeah, and they use studio tricks, audio tune. There's no real artistry going on there.
And
And the funny thing is about that, I don't know if you've ever watched some of the reaction videos from people that are hearing old songs for the first time,
yep,
but 90% of the time they're absolutely amazed by the songs
I
and how
know.
well they are.
There was this one black dude who was into rap music stuff. He reacted the first time he heard the song "Dazed and Confused" by Led Zeppelin. He was freaked out by the bridge there where Jimmy Page was using that violin bow on his guitar there. He's like, "Wow, how the
Right.
hell they made that, man? This is a trip, blah blah blah." I mean, like we have little kids reacting to Eddie Van Halen's Eruption guitar solo from '86. That
Right.
was running amok after his passing last October there.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing. It's people are listening to this old stuff and they're just absolutely floored by how much better it is than anything that's coming out now.
You can
And
imagine.
yet the executives don't get it.
Yeah, because the executives are all about one thing. What's trending now?
Profit.
What's trending and what's profit? Yeah, like you said, profit. What we can earn from this particular trend. Like let's make this artist here follow this particular trend. That's the thing with record companies nowadays. Like I talked about this with Joe Cronin on the show we did last year. It was called Sex. I think it was originally called Sex Mongoloids and Industrial, but I changed it to Sex Thugs and Industrial there. But we talked about how record companies were trying to get industrial bands to add a metal guitar into their songs. Sounded like a pulsating rhythms with metal guitars with samples from movies like The Road Warrior, Casino, anything with a lot of cussing in it, like motherfucker this, fuck you this, like movies like Falling Down, The Road Warrior, Mad Max, Beyond Thunderdome, it was the same thing, And a lot of bands, who was resorting to firing their drummers, getting a drum machine in its place there, you name
Yeah.
it. That was a big
And
trend throughout the 1990s.
and you lose a lot of great drummers that way. Of course, a lot of the best ones have already died, but anyway, there are good drummers still out there that I'm going to mention real quick.
Yeah,
A group by the name of Porcupine Tree,
yes. I remember hearing that name a
which
lot.
their drummer is absolutely one of the most awesome drummers I've heard in a long time. He is really good, and the guitar player is good too, Steve Wilson.
Yeah.
But we'll get to Porcupine Tree because I got a lot of songs I think people should hear.
Yeah, and also another thing I remember that was running rapid throughout the music scene, the word shawty, which is an ATL term for a good-looking female. Hey shawty, what's going on? Hey, how's the shawty in the back doing there? How's the shawties in the front row doing tonight? How many times have we heard that in various R&B songs or rap tunes out there? It got to the point where they convinced Snoop Dogg, then known as Snoop Doggy Dogg, who was started his career out years before the early 2000s when that word was running amok. They probably convinced him to use that word because that word was currently at that time trending.
Right.
And how many times so many artists out there today, often sound the same, and they don't really have no good lyrics to come along with it. Whether it's all about, oh baby, I love the way you make me feel. Would you hold me? Whoopee fucking kumquat.
Yeah. Well, you know,
The songs that we grew up with, and as Archie pointed out, had a lot of stories in them. I mean, you pointed a few out in last night. I need to say.
yeah, and of course we had our share of, for lack of a better term, bad ones.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
sometimes they were good in their own way.
Yeah. Like for instance, nowadays, for some reason, there's the YouTube channel called DJ Disco Cat, which puts out extended remix versions of various songs from the 70s. And they did this with a couple Bee Gees tunes, that song Baby Come Back by Player. They
Right.
did this, I believe they did this with, I forgot that one song name. I think, oh yeah, Exiles, Kiss You All Over. Great tune right
Oh yeah,
there.
that's a good time.
Oh, absolutely, man. And of course, one of my favorites was the 8-minute version of "Do You Think I'm Sexy" by Rod Stewart.
Which in and of itself, that song was kind of a okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I wasn't wild about it because some of those artists that went into disco in the '80s, it was just it
70s.
was all the same.
It was all
'70s, yeah,
yeah, it was from 76 to 70 and 1980, I guess it was. You know,
yeah,
but then again, like the same thing with the word shorty or the metal guitars on the industrial bands tracks there was a trend at the time, whether it's Kiss or Rod Stewart or a couple other artists going the disco route, whether it's Isaac Hayes or
the Rolling
May,
Stone.
Rolling Stones with the song "Miss You." Let's not forget that. Let's also not forget even Paul McCartney and Wings. They had a song called Good Night Tonight from 1979.
Yeah. I
That's
mean, all of them tried it, and some of them were good at it, and some of them were like, "Don't do that."
crapola.
ELO did it
Yeah. I
with that
Shine a Little Love.
virtually that whole album.
Really, yeah. Discovery that came out that same year.
Yep.
The same one with Don't Bring Me Down at the very end of that record there.
Right. Last Train to London.
Yep. Yeah.
But they were okay. That didn't bother me as much, I guess,
Yeah.
as some of the others,
Yeah.
because they were all hopping on the bandwagon.
Yep. As well, it gets to the point where even Arthur Fiedler from the Boston Pops Orchestra, he put out a record called Saturday Night Fiedler or Sesame
Yeah.
Street Disco.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
I mean,
gosh, give me a
talk
even.
about a
And there was this one artist I remember. His name was Miko, Meco. He came out
yeah.
with this disco version of the Star Wars theme.
Right.
Oh gosh, that was unbearable. And believe it or not, from what I understand, a couple years before the disco scene, it was a disco version of the theme of The Exorcist. I don't know who it
Oh
was.
boy.
I don't know who it was who did it, but it flopped so bad that there are no copies left of it today,
No, which rightfully so.
which is a good thing, because I don't think
Yeah.
Mike Oldfield had that particular idea in mind when he composed Tobar Bells to begin with.
Tubular Bells. Yeah.
Tubular Bells. Thank you for correcting me. I mean, it just make no sense.
Yeah.
But sadly,
Oh.
but sadly, as we know, the things record companies are all about profit. It's all about following this idea, following that, and sadly, and most of
Well,
the
a lot of
most.
times they force the artists to do it.
Yep,
Artists don't always want to do it.
that's
They're
true. Yeah,
forced.
yeah. I'm not surprised about that as well.
Okay, back to the 60s.
Okay, let's get on to
And
our subject there.
I'm going to mention groups and try to cover some of their songs without playing their songs.
Okay,
And it's going to be kind of in a semi-alphabetical order because I just made a list.
good.
First one I got falls into the bubblegum category. The
Okay.
1910 Fruit Gum Company.
Mm.
Are you familiar with them?
I don't think I have. No. Is this a
Their
band
big
or?
song. Yeah, it's a band.
Oh wow.
It's one of those cats and jazz cats things.
Cat's ass.
Well, that's pretty much what it was. They had 5 or 6 bubblegum groups that they were producing,
Oh.
and we'll get to each one of them as we go. But their big one was one called Simon Says, which was, you remember the childhood games, Simon Says do this?
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Well, there was a song based on that called Simon Says that this group did. And they did another one called Special Delivery.
Yep.
They did another one, 1, 2, 3 Red Light, Indian Giver, Goody Gumdrops.
Ah,
Those-
Cootie
they're
Cootie
kind of their-
Gumdrops.
Those were kind of their big ones, and they were all bubblegummy, for lack of a better term.
Ah,
But they were enjoyable in their own way. I mean, they weren't bad. They were just kind of like goofy,
mm.
but they were listenable. I mean, they weren't something what I call a radio dial turner.
Yep.
You sit there and go, "Oh, I'm not going to hear this," and you turn the radio dial to another station. So they weren't horrible. Then there's a group, I don't remember this, the early 60s or the late 50s, called the Ad Libs.
Mm.
They did a song called Boy from New York City.
Mm. And this was covered by the Manhattan Transfer later on.
I believe so.
Because I remember,
I
that.
could play a piece of it.
Because I remember the second version around, I guess it was 1980, 81, I guess it was.
Yeah, that was one of those ooh, diddy diddy. Talk about the boy from New York
Yep,
City.
that's
or
it.
something
That's
like
what
that.
I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, the original group, well, I don't know if they're the original group, but the one I remember was the Ad Libs. and it was either I think it was the early '60s, if I'm not mistaken. That's another song that's kind of decent, and it's a pretty good version. It's a it's a it's a
Hmm.
black doo-wop group,
Uh-huh.
and it's like I said, it's a good song.
Yeah, it was. I'm looking at the Wikipedia. It was. It came out in 1964. The original. It was a soul group called the Ad Libs. You
Right.
know. All right. There you go. So it was the original there. It peaked at number 8 on the Billboard Top 100 in February '65, and the group recorded other singles. They would never repeat that same success.
Oh, that was a big one for them. Yes,
It
sir.
was. Yeah. It came out on Blue Cat Records around that year.
And it's worth a look up for anybody that's listening to this.
Yeah. The first session was to lay down the rhythm section, and the next was to lay down the lead and backup vocals, and the last was just for the horns.
Yeah, but it's definitely a well-made song.
Yeah, it was. It was also covered by a group called the Darts, and they
Hmm.
became chart hits in the UK and the US respectively. The Darts version reached number 2 in the UK, and the Manhattan Transfers version, peaked at number 7 on the US in the 1981. And it
Wow.
excuse me, inspired a response song by the Beach Boys called "The Girl from New York City" from
Yeah.
their 65 album "Summer Days and Summer Nights." And it
Yep.
was also used in the Manhattan Transfer. It was used by pro wrestler Jimmy Valiant, the Boogie Woogie Man, as the theme music during his venture during his time with Jim Crockett Promotions, the NWA, back in the 80s.
Oh wow, I remember that actually. Now that you
Yeah.
mention it,
Yep.
that I don't really watch or follow wrestling right now at all,
No, no, no.
and I used to do it pretty pretty religiously in the '80s and '70s and
No.
'60s.
The only wrestling I really watch now and then is, if I got the time, is AEW. And at least it's a lot better than the WWE. But the one thing I miss watching was the NWA wave that was on YouTube about a couple years back before the COVID-19 hit. I
Yeah.
know they came
Yeah.
back with a thing called the Shockwave. For a while, it was just wrestling without the audience, and it's just, I'm sorry, but that doesn't really float my
You
boat. You
miss a
gotta,
lot.
yeah, absolutely. It's just you gotta have that audience participation. And yeah, I know the WWE has this Thunderdome where people can watch from the comfort of their home, but at the same time, we'd like to have the volumes up, the people there, so they can say things, so they can cheer or chew whoever's cheer or boo whoever's in the damn ring, and we don't need to
Right.
hear fake crowd noises. Okay,
No, not the same.
no, it's just it's fake as hell. Okay, give it up, Vince. Okay, just let the people have the volumes up from their comfort of their home and let them speak out loud. Let them cheer, boo, whichever there. Okay, but we promise you, keep it. That would be more real than what you got right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Well, like I said, I hadn't been following for a while, so
And
next artist I got is also late '50s, early '60s. It's a guy called Al Hurt.
Al Hurt, the King Al. He's the King Al Hurt.
Believe so. He's a
Because
trumpet player.
yes, my dad had a couple of his old records in his collection. I remember the name very well.
He had two pretty big songs. One of them was called Java,
Mm.
which is, I guess, about coffee.
Ah.
And the second one's called Cotton Candy. Food
Mm.
theme going on here.
Oh, yeah,
But
nice.
pretty nice little bouncy tunes. They were both pretty good.
Ah, cool.
I would suggest people find them.
Yeah, and this,
And
I
it's one of
guess,
those things I'm trying to, point out songs that are worth a listen. I mean, one listen won't hurt you.
yeah. And from what year did Herb Albert made his debut? I was wondering.
Mid '60s, I think.
Mid '60s, and this Al Hurt came out, believe me, before Herb Albert, if I'm correct.
Oh yeah,
Ah, so
mainly
he's.
the '50s and '60s.
I see there because so
I don't remember the exact day.
I guess that it fits to say that before there was Herb Albert, there was Al Hurt.
Yeah,
Ah, there we go. Because we all know Herb Albert is a trumpet player himself, iconic, legend of his own time, and also the ru- he made many records of his own with his group, the Tijuana Brass, and of course, who cannot forget? He was the A in A&M Records.
Yeah. Okay, next artist I got is a guy by the name of Al Wilson.
Mm,
And his big song that I remember
yeah.
uh, was something called The Snake,
Uh,
which was, the old story about the lady that found the snake and took him in because he's out in the cold, freezing weather
yep.
and kept him warm and all that. And then
Yep.
the snake ended up biting her. This is what
Uh-huh.
that song's about.
Ah,
And it's a pretty neat little song, actually.
wow.
And then he also had a song called Show and Tell
Wow.
that was pretty big.
Interesting. That Snake song kind of reminded me of a story about. I guess it was the. It was kind of like the scorpion and the turtle. The scorpion when they did get across the river, and the turtle said, "No, you're gonna sting me." I said, "No,
Yeah.
okay," and so no, I won't sting you. I promise I won't. Turtle says, "Okay, I'll oblige." Halfway when they get across the river, Scorpion ends up stinging him. And now, as the turtle's about to die, he's like, "Well, why did you break your word?" And the Scorpion replied, "Because it's my nature."
Yeah. There's a lot in some of those stories that that's the way stories were then. They had
Yeah,
a point.
yeah.
Next group I got is kind of a little bouncy group too. It's a group called Alive and Kicking.
Ah, interesting because we know the song by Simple Minds from the early '80s. There, I never knew there was a group of the same name.
Yeah, they did a song called Hold On,
Mm.
just a little bit longer or something like that.
Oh wow,
That's
interesting.
it's a neat little song. I think it's worth a listening.
Yeah, because now, and this is probably one of many titles, many songs. Well, I think sure there's probably other songs out there with the same title. I'm thinking.
Oh yeah, I can think of about two more right off the top of my head. Uh, then the next group I got is one called American Breed.
Mm.
Their big song was Bend Me, Shape Me.
I remember "Bend Me, Shape Me Any
Yep,
Way You Want." I heard that a couple times. Remember there?
yep.
Yep.
They did another one called Green Light, which is actually a pretty good song.
Ah.
Then the next one, I'm having trouble reading my writing.
Ah.
Great. Oh, Andy Williams.
Oh
I
wow.
don't think we mentioned him, but he had some great songs in the 50s and
In-
60s.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember. I remember he had the Andy Williams show for a while there.
Yeah. Now I'm going to have to look up. He had a pretty big hit with the song. Let me see if I can
Mm.
get him looked up real quick. Uh,
All right.
because I want to see if I can find the song I'm thinking of. Well, he did Moon River, which everybody knows, the theme
Yep.
from Love Story, which everybody knows.
Yep.
And his big one for me was a song called Can't Get Used to Losing You.
Ah. I,
Nice little song with a good
interesting.
hook.
All right. Interesting there.
And it's out of the vein of the ballad thing.
Interesting.
But
A lot of songs like the ones you mentioned often were covered a lot of times by different artists. And I remember one of the most well done songs along the Columbia Records catalog among their artists was a tune called Little Green Apples.
yeah, I don't remember who did it, but a lot of people did it. I don't remember who the original artist was.
I should probably look that up definitely for Shizzle. Because I remember those albums from the yesteryear where they have advertisements in the sleeve there, where they had advertised this record, that record, that record of all the listed albums there.
Yeah,
I used to read those and a lot of songs here. Let's see here. Look, Wikipedia, and I used to see that title a lot of times being repeatedly done by this artist, that artist still here. Okay, I got the Wikipedia up here. It was written by, let's see, Bobby Russell, Originally written and released for Roger Miller in '68, it was also released as a single by Patti Page, O.C. Smith on separate occasions that same year. And it also, the song earned Russell 2 Grammy Awards for Song of the Year and Best Country Song. And in 2013, it was covered by the English recording artist Robbie Williams, and even by Kelly Clarkson, which became a top 40 hit in the country of Mexico.
Yeah, I remember the O.C. Smith version. That was the one I remembered.
Yeah,
And I honestly don't remember Roger Miller doing it.
well,
But, and it's funny because I was a big Roger Miller fan. I like some of his stuff.
and believe it or not, according to this, Smith's version was the #2 hit on the Billboard Top 100 behind Hey Jude by the Beatles.
Wow.
Wow. And the song also won its composer, Bobby Russell, the 1969 Grammy Award Song for Award for Song of the Year and Grammy Award for Best Country Song, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Next artist I got is B.J. Thomas.
Oh wow, that's the guy who did "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head" for the movie Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid.
Yeah, and that was probably his biggest hit. But he
Yeah.
had a lot of other songs that were
Yeah.
hits.
Yeah.
He did a cover of "I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry."
And that was a repeated. That was a song that was often done a lot in the country genre.
Hank Williams.
Yep, he was the one who originally did it, if I remember.
Then he did another one of those little sad wartime stories called
Oh.
Billy and Sue.
Ah.
Now, I don't think that's kind of anti-war, but it's kind of like what happens when your boy goes off to fight and your girl's in town running around.
Oh wow! Because she gets lonely, she started to sit at home and wait in, and she got to go out. And oh, screw it! I doubt he's ever going to come back. Going to go out and live for today. La la la.
Yeah, and send you a letter and tell you about it.
Oh
Nice.
man, that's brutal. That's cold right there, man.
And then he did another one called "The Eyes of a New York Woman," which was pretty good because he used synthesizer in it. Not synthesizer, sitar.
Sitar. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then "Hooked on a Feeling," which is another one of his big ones.
Oh wow! And this is
I'm hooked on a feeling.
Is this the same one that we mentioned earlier that was covered by this other group, or is this a different tune there?
If you're talking about Blue Swede, yeah.
Oh
It's
wow!
the same song.
Oh wow!
Where they do that ooga shaka.
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same song.
Interesting, because you know what, we got to give it up to the guys who compiled the Guardians of the Galaxy compilation there for the movies, volumes 1 and 2, because they've been using a lot of old songs like "Hooked on a Feeling," the Pina Colada song from Rupert Holmes and a couple others there on the soundtrack there. So that kind of helps, get people today into yesteryear's music.
And he did another song called, kind of a long title here.
Yep.
Hey, won't you play another Somebody Done Somebody Wrong song?
I remember hearing about that, the title of that, a couple times there.
And of course, you mentioned Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, which was his big one.
Mm-hmm.
He covered other songs, but they weren't hits for him, so I won't even mention them, I don't guess.
Yeah, and I believe he died in what year, I believe it was?
You might have to look that one up, because I know that he had some, he went into some, I guess, drug and alcohol issues, but got out of them.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It wouldn't hurt to look him up real quick.
He's still alive, right, according to this. He's known for his songs. Yeah, he is, I mean, he's still around. I guess what it is. Let's see. He's about 78 years old. He lives in Hugo, Oklahoma.
Wow.
Yep, and he's still around, thank goodness.
Good thing.
Yeah.
Did it mention him going into abuse problems and getting out of them?
Maybe I should look up the whole story. I just only looked up his whereabouts here and there. But definitely I should bring this up here. Career, blah, blah, blah. Personal life, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. I'm looking on his career spot here, and it never really mentions his situation with drugs and alcohol there.
It could be somebody else I'm thinking of, but I
Y-
thought it was him.
And also, but he also, according to this, he scored another hit called "As Long as We Got Each Other," which was the theme to the TV show "Growing Pains."
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that song
But
was recorded with a duet with Jennifer Warnes and for the second and third seasons, and it was recorded again by Dusty Springfield,
wow.
yeah, who we all know wrote, who did
But we'll get to her.
absolutely "Son of a Preacher Man," that song with the Pet Shop Boys. He was the leader.
Yeah. Next one I got on the list is a one-hit wonder called Balloon Farm.
Mm,
They did a song called Question of Temperature,
mm.
which is an interesting little song because it's got a. If you hear it, you'll say to yourself, "Wow, why didn't they do more?" Because it's a good song.
Wow. And this is song. What's this song about, by the way? Because it sounds like I'm talking about weather-wise or something.
No, it's hard to say, but I guess he's talking about how hot he is for somebody. I guess
Mm. Oh wow.
it's hard to listen to the song,
Oh, I'm
and I
so
think you'll
hot for
like
you.
it.
Oh, I'm so hot for you, my dear. I'm so burning up inside of you. Rah. Something like that, I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
possibly, but it's like I said, it's got some good little hooks to it too. It's a song that I don't think we'd get a strike if I played that one, but I'm just not going to do it.
All right.
But it is, well, actually, if I can find it fast enough, I think I can get away with this.
So hopefully, we don't get no issues leveled out towards us here if we do
I guess I
this.
should unplug the speaker.
Nice.
It's a good song.
It is. It sounds very good there.
Well, if we get a copyright strike for that one,
I hope not.
that's that's doing something.
Mm.
But that's a great. A lot of times when I'm telling people these songs, they're worth at least one listen,
Yeah.
and then decide, oh, I don't guess I like it after all. The next guy I got is 50s. It's a guy by the name of Benny Bell, and his big song was one called Shaving Cream, which is
Mm.
a novelty song.
Ah.
But basically, it's about well, uh, shaving cream is a substitute for another word, and in the 50s, this is amazing.
Ah.
Let me see if I can find him because I think I can get away with this one too.
I think I know
Let
where
me
you.
see.
I think I know where you're coming from with this one there.
Oh, we gotta find out. Let's see.
All
Like I
right.
said, this is. Can you hear it?
A little bit there. Yes. And
It basically replaces the word shit.
ah.
And this is the 50s.
Wow. 'Cause remember, you get back then, you couldn't say words like that there.
No, but it's a funny little song. It's a novelty.
Nice. Yeah, I'm leaving it up right now. It was the original was recorded by Bell's Cocktail Party of Patty Songs record label in 1946 with Phil Winston on vocals under the name Paul Wynn. And as that name was also used by Bell himself, Winston's version has often been mistaken for Bell's and has appeared on the Benny Benny Bell compilation. I was going to say Benny Hill for a second there,
Oh boy.
and was on. It was more frequently than Bell's own version, believe it or not. After the song
Yeah.
became, but it was played on the Dr. Demento radio show in the 1970s.
Oh, it's a big one for Demento.
It was reissued in 1975 and it became a big hit. Peaked at number 30 on the Billboard 100 charts. Early copies of that version was credited Bell as the performer. However, after controversy arose, the same recording was released with revised labels crediting Paul Wynn as the performer. And a remake was
Yeah.
done with Dr. Demento, was released on the album Dr. Demento's Dementia Royal and Dr. Demento's 25th anniversary collection. He up and performed the song live in concert with Weird Al Yankovic's band, with Weird Al himself playing accordion. And another 70s cover was done by a group called the Fabulous Five. Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty popular. It's worth a listen because it's a funny song.
All right. All right. Debbie got. I'm always in the mood for novelty songs. You remember the Rodeo song from 1985?
What was that one?
You
Because
piss
I'm
me
usually pretty
off.
familiar with.
You piss
I'm
me
pretty
off.
familiar.
You fucking jerk. Get on my nerves. That was the chorus there.
Yeah, I like a good novelty song.
Oh yeah, that song was when I first heard that one. That was like all of us on the floor there.
Yeah. Next artist I got, I think we missed him when we were doing the British part of this.
All right.
Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas,
Ah.
and they've got close ties to the Beatles.
All right.
Their big help was the Big Help. Their
Big
big
hit.
song was let's
Big tune.
Little Children,
Hmm.
which was kind of like, I don't know how to describe the song, but it's about a guy trying to make time with his girlfriend, and he's trying to get rid of the kids.
Ah, I'm going to put the kids to bed to get rid of them so I can spend time
Yeah.
with my lady there and such and such.
Yeah, and it's a pretty good song, actually.
Ah.
That was probably a biggest hit, but it did a couple others that were pretty decent. Trains and Boats and Planes.
Mm-hmm. Ah.
From a Window.
Ah.
I'll Keep You Satisfied. I Call Your Name.
Uh-huh.
From a Window. Did I
Ah.
mention that?
Ah,
But
interesting.
like I said, they had a fairly close association with the Beatles.
Oh, wow. Were they like buddies, songwriting partners, business buddies as
Actually, I
well?
think they did some covering. I think they covered a few Beatles songs.
Oh, wow.
Then the next guy I want to mention is Billy Joe Royal.
Oh, I heard that name before, yes.
His biggest song was one called Down in the Boondocks.
I think I heard that one, yes.
Yeah, people put me down because that's the side of town I was born in.
Uh-huh. I remember hearing that very well.
Did another one that's fairly decent called I Knew You When. And then another song that's interesting because it got banned in a couple of places
Really?
is one called Cherry Hill Park.
Mm.
Talking about a girl that's a thrill after dark in Cherry Hill Park.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. You know, the girls criticized her, the guys idolized her.
I
You
see.
can kind of
She-
tell what that song's about.
One of those easy action chicks there, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Was literally because she's a thrill after dark in Cherry Hill Park.
One of those women or one of those chicks out there that are like, keep to themselves at the daytime, but when the nighttime rolls around, the beast arises.
Yeah. That's probably a pretty good description. It's a good song,
Yep.
though.
Mm-hmm.
And the next group we got is, we mentioned them a while ago, called Blue Swede.
Yep.
And they did two covers with that Ooga Shaka thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Hooked
they were
on a
from
Feeling.
Sweden. Hooked on a Feeling and
Yep.
Never My Love. Two big songs, but they covered it with their Ooga Shaka thing.
Interesting.
And like I said, I think they were from Sweden.
All right.
Next one I got's an interesting story.
Oh, wow.
Bob Cuban and the In-Men.
I don't
He
think
did a song. He did a song about, haven't you heard about a guy known as the Cheater?
Mm.
And he actually got killed by his wife and her lover.
Wow.
Read the story sometimes. Real interesting because I think they dumped him in a well or something.
Wow. Interesting. That's that's a suspense thriller right there. That's something for.
Yeah, and he
In fact, that's something for a Law and Order Special Victims Unit. When you think about it, there, I'm surprised they didn't pick up on that and made that into an episode. That the particular storyline.
Yeah, because it's ironic because he does a song and then later gets killed.
Wow. Very interesting, man.
Yeah. Next one I got, I don't know whether you'd call this country, folk, or what you would call this.
Mm.
Bobby Gentry.
I've heard of her. I've heard of her name, and we know her song. "Ode to
Oh, to
Billy
Billy
Joe."
Joe.
Yep, about a
Now, is
guy
that
who
country or folk?
I don't know, but I remember the subject was about finding out that somebody she knew had committed
Jumped
suicide,
off,
jumped off the
jumped
bridge,
off, yeah, jumped off the Tallahatchie Bridge.
and
Good
killed himself.
song.
Yeah, very interesting song. Very controversial song. I take it back then.
Pretty much. And like I said, it's hard to classify it. A lot of people classify it as folk, and other people classify it as country. I kind of think it's more folk,
Maybe.
but that's my opinion.
Wow.
Next one I got also got an interesting story, which is still to this day being kind of talked about in a way.
Yeah.
Bobby Fuller. Bobby
Oh
Fuller
my
Fuller.
gosh. I fought the law, and the law won.
Yeah.
And the
And
story.
the thing for me is when I lived in El Paso, I lived like 3 houses away from him on the other side. I actually had met him a couple of times before he moved to L.A.
Wait, Bobby Fuller. How do we spell his last name there? 'Cause it's
F Fuller.
F-U. There we go. Got it. I'm looking up right there, and let's see here on the Wikipedia here. Because what happened here is like, we need to find out about the whole situation surrounding his death.
Yeah.
And
And while you're doing that, he did a couple other songs that were pretty good.
uh-huh.
He did the one called "Fool of Love," which was a good song, and
Wow.
there was others, but yeah, if my brother was in the chat, he'd know his whole catalog.
Wow.
Uh, but he did some other songs that were really, really good songs too.
Yeah. Now here, I looked up the section about the guy's death. Within months of "I Fought the Law" becoming a top 10 hit, Fuller was found dead in an automobile parked outside his Hollywood apartment. The Los Angeles Deputy Medical Examiner Jerry Nelson performed the autopsy. Now, according to Dean Culpers, I don't know who he was. The report says, "quote unquote," the report states that Bobby's face, chest, and side were covered in what was it? Petetal's hemorrhages, I think it is.
Yeah,
Prob-
hemorrhages sounds right.
yeah, caused by gasoline vapors and the summer heat. They found no bruises, no broken bones, no cuts, no evidence of any assault or beating. And Copiers explained it further that boxes for accident, quote unquote, and suicide were checked, but next to the boxes were question marks. Despite the official cause of death, some commentators believe that he was murdered. Now, the relative of Sam Cooke, named Eric Green, had cited similarities in the death between Fuller and Sam Cooke. Fuller bandmate Jim Reeves has suspected that Charles Manson played a role in Fuller's death, but never provided any credible evidence. Besides, Manson could not have been involved because at that time he was in prison between 61 and 67.
But he had followers.
Yeah, absolutely. A sensationalist crime website has speculated that the Los Angeles Police Department may have been involved because Fuller's connection to a mafia-related woman. He was buried on the Forest Lawn Memorial Park in the Hollywood Hills of Los Angeles, and his death was profiled in a segment of a program, you may remember this show, Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was also
The whole
explored.
thing was suspicious.
Yeah, it was also explored on the May a 2015 episode of an NPR program called All Things Considered. And the program refers the book I Fought the Law, the Life and Strange Death of Bobby Fuller, with contributions by someone named Randy Fuller, I guess was a relative.
I
Sometime
think
after,
so.
yeah, sometime after the Unsolved Mysteries segment aired, the cause of Fuller's death was officially changed from suicide to accident. And he made an impact on pop culture just as well. In 1996, a band called the Rock A-Teens released a song called Who Killed Bobby Fuller on their first record, and another indie rock band called Metric referred Bobby Fuller's name in this and I Fought the Law in their 2006 single Monster Hospital, as did Lou Reed in the song Dirt from 1978. Excuse me, producer and artist Terry Manning released a tribute album to his friend and mentor Bobby Fuller entitled West Texas Skyline in 2017. In that same year, Chuck Prophet, who I don't know who he is, I'm just looking,
Right.
I'm the cut to the chase kind of guy, released the critically acclaimed album Bobby Fuller Died for Your Sins. Now, of course, we know The Clash recorded their cover version on an EP and became a standard for their live shows. It was also covered by the Dead Kennedys. Phil Seymour's recording of the song Let Her Dance was a hit single in various cities in the U.S. between 81 and 82.
Yeah, he had a lot of pretty good songs,
Yeah,
and I really think had he still stayed alive, he would have been a really big star.
yeah. Yes, which is sad because, probably one of the most saddest stories out there is about damn good entertainers being taken from us way before their time.
Yeah, yeah,
Whether it's Notorious B.I.G. or Aaliyah or this musician or Nick Drake and whoever, it's always a sad
right.
thing to hear about.
Yeah. Next guy I got on the list is, uh, I don't know, interesting, I suppose. Well, I like him.
Yeah.
Bobby Goldsboro.
Hmm. I think I've heard that one before just as well.
He had quite a few, I guess what you'd call hit songs.
All right.
He had, let's see, a song called Little Things.
All right.
Little things that you do made
All
me
right.
glad that I'm in love with. Then he did another one called Voodoo Woman.
All right.
It was called You're a Voodoo Woman, so stay away from me, or something
Ah,
like that.
something like that. We heard that many times with a devil woman or a evil woman.
Yeah. Then he did another one called, he started getting into the stuff we were talking about, I guess, life experiences. Did one called Autumn of My Life, where I guess he met a girl when he was in the autumn of his life.
Ah,
Then he did another one called Straight Life. Watching Scotty Grow, which I guess is about their little kid.
nice.
Then he did another one that was actually it was a movie theme, but I forget which movie it was. I think it's Summer 49.
Ah,
It was called Summer the First Time. And then, let's see. The big one for him was one called Honey. Talking about a girl that I guess he was with that died too young.
ah, the sad story there.
Yeah, there's guys out there that like to pull on the heartstrings
Yeah, they do at
and,
times.
do that. And occasionally you hear a song that works that way.
Yeah, because stuff like that usually does get the attention that they're looking for.
Yeah. Next one I got is a group called the Booker T and the MGs.
Booker T. Oh yeah, Booker T and the
Green
MGs.
Onions.
Yep, we know that song. That's instrumental there.
Yeah, great song.
And I think it's where the wrestler Booker T got his name from there.
Very possible. He should
Absolutely.
have used the theme. I don't know if he did or not, but he should have.
But then again, the Harlem Heat, the tag team with him and Stevie Ray, of course, named after that guitar player from Austin, Texas. You know, they had probably had to go through copyright stuff. You know, they were supposed to be thug. They were supposed to be hood. You know, and I guess
Right.
the hood, the thing was that they were looking for the theme.
Yeah.
And I believe Booker T is from Houston, Texas, if I'm correct.
I honestly don't know, but sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah, because I remember Joe Cronin was telling me that when I called in from that number that nightclub numbers last year. Actually, more than
Yeah.
a couple, almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah,
I got to get back to listening. I haven't heard this show in quite a
I
while.
know. I will listen a little bit on that past Friday. You know, for a bit here and there.
Yeah, most of these shows are on later than I am, and I never get around to listening during the day.
But we
I
always,
got to do that again.
I know a lot of times when I was working my previous job, you know, I would listen to on the following Saturday, but I had to keep it down because of the random amount of cussing on that program there.
Yeah, yeah. Out of nowhere, basically.
Yep.
Uh, Next one I got is, I think she's a 50s, maybe 60s artist. I don't think we mentioned her. Brenda Lee.
Oh, we know her pretty well. Yes.
She had a big song with something called "I'm Sorry,"
Hmm.
which was a good little
I
song.
think my dad had a couple of her records there. She was like a teenager, I guess, when she started out.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Next one I got is one called is a song called an artist called Brian Hyland.
Mm.
He did. He was the one that did the song, the novelty song. She wore an itsy bitsy teeny weeny
Oh,
yellow
we know
polka
that
dot
song.
bikini.
Oh, yeah. And oh, gosh, that was almost like a novelty song back then.
Yeah, and he had another song that was big, and I'm trying to remember what it was. I guess I could go look real quick.
All right.
Uh, Sealed with a Kiss.
Mm.
Yes. Though we got to say goodbye for the summer. Uh,
Sealed with
Covered
a
by
kiss.
yes, covered by several artists,
Mm.
but I think he was the original.
Oh,
And then another one from the '60s that was a one-hit wonder. A guy by the name of Bruce Chanel
Bruce
did a song
Chanel.
called "Hey Baby."
Oh.
You know, hey baby, I want you to know if you'll be my girl. Dun, 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 dun. You need to hear that one too.
All right. Interesting there.
Next one we've talked about a couple of times, but I actually comprised a list. Buffalo Springfield.
Oh, yeah. We know this group. This is where Neil Young and got his start. Stephen Stills got his start, you know, along with well, David Crosby was still in the Birds at this point there, and we all know
Yeah, he
the big,
never.
yeah, we all know the song, their big song there, For What It's Worth.
Right, and we will get to that one.
Yep.
My number 10 that I've got is Rock and Roll Woman. And the interesting, I think this is a song. No, it's not. There was a song by either them or Crosby, Stills, and Nash that one of their guitars fell,
Mm.
detuned. He liked it and kept it. And I don't think that was the song. I think that was a different one.
Wait a minute, fell as in a tripped over something, or was so high
Yeah,
that
the
he?
dog knocked it over or something.
Oh,
Number 9 is a song called Mr. Soul.
oh yeah, which
Well, hello, Mr. Soul.
yes, I remember hearing that as well. Did you ever hear Neil Young's version from '82? He redid this song for an
Oh,
album.
yeah, from
Trans, yeah, remember that. Interesting song, interesting way he did it there.
Yeah,
And one
well,
thing
it's an
I,
interesting album.
yeah, very half Neil. It was half computerized and half, you know, basic Neil.
Yeah. He always experimented,
Yeah, he
and we'll
was.
spend a lot of time on him when the time
Absolutely. I
comes.
remember he did a country album, a rockabilly album, a lot of times.
Yeah, and actually, he did. I don't know what to call it. It was a live album, but one of the It was a 2-record set. One of the
Well,
records, yeah, one of the records was called Ark,
yep.
which was basically,
Feedback from the audience. I had that CD, believe it or not.
I mean, it was about 30 minutes of, for lack of a better word, noise,
Yeah,
but it's actually pretty entertaining.
yeah, it was. Yeah, because during their shows, they would do a lot of improvs, a lot of stuff like that, and I guess they were when they were doing recording the stuff for the Weld album, which was the live album we're speaking of. They would record everything, and they would take out little bits here and there, and I guess he compiled them all together and made it into this piece called simply Ark. And all that the live album and that piece put together was sold together as Ark Weld.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
It came out, I
My,
guess, in 91, 92. And let's not forget, Neil Young's name really got big again when the grunge rock scene, alternative stuff started in the early 90s.
yeah. My number 8 song is a Richie Furay song,
Mm.
which he also went on to do some other stuff in other bands, Poco. Kind Woman,
Wow.
which actually Poco redid and did a version of that song.
Oh.
Not Pogo. Yeah,
Po-
Pogo.
oh, yeah. Whatever happened to Pogo? Are they still together?
I doubt it.
Oh.
I don't know though.
Cause I remember one of the members, Randy Meiser, was involved with the Eagles for a while there, and
Yeah,
they had 3 songs that I remember pretty well. In the Heart of the Night, Crazy Love, and this one when they came back in around the 80s called Call It Love. There, I remember when I got my first car, I had an AM radio player before I got a tape player, and there was this one AM station I would listen to a lot of times. Play that song here and there at times, along with the song "Hands to Heaven" at that time. I guess it was in
yeah. When we
'88.
get when we get to Poco, there's a lot more than those 3 songs.
Yep.
Okay, number 7, I got the song called "I Am a Child," which is a Neil Young song on their 3rd album.
Ah.
Nice little song. I got "For What It's Worth" as number 6 on my list because I've heard that song probably a million times.
Yep.
And number 5 I got is one. It's another Neil Young song. Nowadays Clancy Can't Even Sing,
Ah.
off the 1st album.
Interesting. Sounds like a guy who has vocal problems, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's a Neil Young, so who knows?
Uh,
His songs didn't really need. I don't know.
I guess if it's to say that Neil Young was probably one of the first mainstream avant-garde artists out there.
Yeah. Number 4 is a song called "On the Way Home," off the 3rd album.
All right.
Number 3, I got one called "Expecting to Fly," which has got some interesting stereo tricks in it.
Mm.
And number 2 is a song called "Bluebird,"
All right.
which is that the one that I think that's the one that Steven Stills is credited with playing like 8,000 guitars or something like that.
What? 8,000 guitars?
Well, it's facetious, I know, but that's a great little song. It's got a lot of great guitar work in it.
Wow.
Number 1 I got is another Neil Young song, but it's a kind of an opus for him called "Broken Arrow."
Uh-huh.
That is on the 2nd album. That it's a great little song. It does some prog things. It's got like several parts in it. There's
Okay.
this part, and then it goes into something else. Then another part. Then it goes into something else. Then it's almost prog. It's
Right.
worth a listen. It's about 6 minutes long.
Okay.
And an interesting song that didn't make the list, but it's interesting. On the 3rd album, it's called "Questions." And the reason why is if you hear the song, you say, "I've heard that before." Yeah, because Stills took it and put part of it in a Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young song.
Mm.
And I forget which song it was off the top of my head.
Oh, wow.
But when we get to Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young someday,
All right.
I will probably remember at that point.
All right.
And let's see, what do we get? Let, we're at the C's.
The C's.
Yeah, I
Seven
got a
C.
group called the Caravels.
Mm.
I think they're the ones that you don't have to be a baby to cry
Oh,
from
I
the
don't think I've heard that
50s.
one. I don't think I've heard any of that yet so far.
Well, the Caravels were a girl group,
Mm.
late 50s, I believe.
I see.
Excuse me. And I think they're the ones that did the You Don't Have to Be a Baby to Cry.
All right.
Let me find them, and I'll look real quick. It's one of those songs, it's typical 50 songs, but it's not a bad one.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, You Don't Have to Be a Baby to Cry.
All right. Kind of like one of those "it's okay to cry if you're an adult" type of thing there.
Yeah, and actually, when you hear the song, you're probably going to recognize it.
All right.
Next group I got's one called the Cascades, and their big song was "Rhythm of the Rain,"
Listen
which,
to
yeah,
which is
yeah,
which is what Neil Sedaka later did.
I don't know if he did that song or not, but they were
Listen
the
to the
original.
pouring of no, I think it's probably different in this version there. My bad.
Yeah, well, it's listen. Dan Fogelberg covered it, did a great job with it.
Oh, all right.
Next one I got's a group called the Casinos, which I'm trying to remember what that song was. I did the title of it.
Casino.
Casinos.
Casinos.
Then you can tell me goodbye.
All right.
If it don't work out, then you can tell me goodbye. Sorry, I
Goodbye.
used to be able to sing, but not anymore.
No.
And actually, the next one I think we actually talked about before, the Castaways, Liar Liar.
All right. I'm out liar, liar, pants on fire. I
Right.
remember hearing that as well. I remember Debbie Harry covered that for a movie, I guess it was.
Yeah. Next was a group called the Chartbusters from England that did a song called She's the One, one hit wonder.
All right.
And actually, a lot of people are confusing this for the Beatles.
Really?
Yeah, which was weird because it didn't really sound Beatlish, but a lot of times there were people like, "Oh, did you hear the new Beatles song, She's the One?" And no, that's not a Beatles song.
Oh, wow.
Now, remember, this is the 60s, so who knows?
A lot of bands at that time were trying to be like the Beatles, but, kind of sounded like them.
Yeah. Next group I have is one called the Chiffons.
Heard that one.
And
He's So
yeah, they
Fine.
did. Yep.
Yep.
And what's that song famous for?
I don't know, but it's
That's
often.
the song that George Harrison was accused of ripping off for My Sweet
Oh
Lord.
my God, that's right. Thanks for remembering. Thanks for reminding me about that.
Yeah. Which there you can hear similarities, but most music is derivative. Because nobody's coming out with anything that's totally new.
That's true. I mean,
But when you play
look at
He's So Fine, you can kind of hear My Sweet Lord.
absolutely
Uh,
there. But then again, the same thing with Huey Lewis and the News and Ray Parker Jr.
right.
Yeah, and we know the controversy between those two over the Ghostbusters singing "I Want a New Drug."
Well, yeah, because Ray Parker was told to sound like Howie Huey Lewis, so he
Yep,
did.
yep, and the same kind of different chords that "I Want a New Drug" did. But the thing was, they did it at a different scale.
Right, right. And next one I got is the Classics 4, Dennis Yost.
Oh yeah,
Their biggie was Spooky.
oh, spooky little girl like you. I've heard that a few
Yeah.
times there. They had
And then
another one. They had another one called "Stormy." One time.
that was a great song.
Yeah,
Stormy and
it is.
Traces.
That is a good song there, I will say.
So those are songs worth looking up. And if you play guitar, they got, I want to say strange chords, but that's not really. They don't use typical chords. They use some like diminished stuff and major seven, stuff like that.
Yes.
They did something musically that not a lot of people do. Let's do something different.
Yeah.
And I guess the last one we can talk about today before we get down to anything else we want to talk about
All right.
is a guy by the name of Cliff Nobles. He did an instrumental called The Horse,
Interesting.
which mid 60s, somewhere in that range, late 60s. Might even gotten into the 70s. I don't remember exactly. But I could probably get away with playing a piece of that one.
All
Let me
right.
find it again.
All right.
It's one of those that you hear, but you don't know that you've heard it. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so hear you loud and clear on that one, man.
Kind of a funky song.
It is, yes.
But basically, that's what that one's like.
Interesting. Kind of like a joyful funk when you think about it there. The way it's
Yeah,
performed and arranged.
yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of times, it was 1968, by the way.
All right. Interesting stuff that we're being provided here tonight, folks.
Yeah, we only got through about the mid C's.
Wow. There's a lot more to go on, I guess you could say there. A lot more, definitely.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes after this,
Well, no,
because we're just basically talking about the standard stuff of the 60s. We ain't got to
to the other stuff there.
pre-psychedelic,
Yeah.
underground, or anything of that nature yet.
Yeah, which we
This,
will, which I know we'll probably definitely do tomorrow night and possibly we start at a better time because, I suggested we started a half hour later because, the traffic and stuff. I was alone in the car
right,
today. And of course, rush hour traffic being the way it is, I
yep.
figure,
And people are out again after being trapped for a week.
yep. Tomorrow I'll be working till about 4 p.m. this time, so there'll be a chance to beat the rush hour and get things more set up here quicker, a lot less quick as I did when I got home today.
And we'll pick up in the mid C's and go from there and see how far we go with that.
All right. So anything you want to talk about there for the time being? You think we're going to get get in trouble for the some of the stuff here that we played on tonight's program?
Well, when we played two, and I would thought they were so obscure that we won't get hit, but who knows?
Yeah, but
I mean,
who knows?
I,
But then again, you know how these companies are when it comes to copyrights and everything else. They're so fickle. They're so this. They're so that. I mean, like,
well, they're trying to get every last dime they can.
yeah, absolutely, and especially now with these streaming services. All these. I remember one time. I think I mentioned this before that I remember hearing this on the NPR's program back in Michigan. There was a point, I don't know if it actually did this, but they came up with this idea to start charging money from these open mic nights at all these coffee houses.
Yeah,
And of
I
course,
mean,
and the reason, one of the big reasons why is because at that period, no one's buying records no more. All these record stores are closing down. You look at the nearby shopping mall today, you don't find a record store anywhere. Well, of course, we have the Barnes and Noble over here, which is pretty good. They have vinyl albums, thank goodness, and some
right,
CDs. There's hardly any CDs at near to any Walmarts. There's also one small section, and the rest is all these DVDs. And plus, there's a big section with all the new vinyl that's come out, including the limited edition Metallica albums, Guardians of the Galaxy, some of the Pink Floyd reissues of their catalog.
Yeah.
You name it there. Even the
Yeah.
Miles Davis album, and just as well, the Essential Johnny Cash, you name it. The best of Leonard Skinner here and there, you betcha.
Oh, yeah.
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 But, there for a while because record companies were like, they were upset because all these kids are going to all these streaming services, streaming free music, and of
Right.
course, but then again, there was a big reason why. Because, maybe kids were sick and tired of paying 3/4 of a $20 bill for one CD, just for one or two tracks on that CD, and all the rest were
Right.
garbage.
Yeah. So they, it's interesting how the music has progressed. In the early 60s and before,
Yeah.
you'd have an album with 2 or 3 hits on it and a bunch of filler.
Yep.
And then in the mid to late 60s, groups started putting together whole albums
Yep.
that all the songs were good on.
Yep.
And the concept stuff, and the prog was a big part of that. And they
Absolutely.
basically spend a lot of time crafting an entire album instead of going, oh, let's throw a couple of hits on there and fill it with garbage.
Yep.
Stuff we just want to fool around with.
Yep. Like
And
they
now they're
do.
back to the
Well,
filling up with garbage
yep.
drop.
Exactly. And which is pitiful because half of the artists out there, they had this one big hit, and then we don't never hear from again for God knows how many years. You remember that?
Right.
Yeah, there was an artist, a dance artist named C.C. Pinnison. You got to show me love. That was a big dance hit back in the I guess it was the early '90s when that decade started. And now we have that was a one big hit, and that was about it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on, which is just, ah, that's what it is.
Total caca.
Yeah. But now we'll tell folks that we're going to try to do this again tomorrow night,
Absolutely.
6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah.
And we'll basically pick up where we left off, still in the 60s. We'll be there, I guess,
All right.
for a while.
I guess, yeah, because there's lots to cover here, folks.
Yeah, because they
Lots
had
to
their
cover.
share of one-hit wonders, too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Or 3-hit wonders or 5-hit wonders or whatever.
Yeah, who knows? Or
Yeah.
twice. Usually two-hit wonders there. There was a lot of them for a while there.
Yeah. They released one really killer song and another song that did fairly well, then nothing.
And that's about it.
And if anybody has any ideas or we missed people, tell us about it.
Yep. We welcome
And
the
remember,
open.
I'm going semi-alphabetic, so I might get to if it's further on in the alphabet.
Let us know in the comments below, or on the message to Skype, or on my Twitter page. And same thing with Arknolia, just as well.
Right.
We also look for people calling in as well. I'm still hoping to get Joe Cronin or possibly Falmouth Ken on the program sometime. A couple others as well. It's been a while since we had heard from Casey.
Yeah. It'd be nice to hear from some old friends.
Yeah. I should probably tweet that out later on tonight. But I know we got to get out of here. In a while, I'm going to have to head to bed because I got to get up early in the morning throughout this week.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, there. So we're going to close the show for today and be with us tomorrow. This possibly either 7 or 7:30 Eastern time there. All depends how rush hour is. Most likely I'll be taking an Uber tomorrow there, since I think my sister works tomorrow morning there. Same time I do.
Okay.
All right, then.
And I have dialysis, but I'll be out by 4 or 5 o'clock.
All right, that's good. All right. So we look forward to hearing from you tomorrow. And check us out tomorrow night as well. This has been episode 28 of Music Memories, Arknolia and the Doctor. And we'll see you cats. We'll see you, all you folks, tomorrow night, folks. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. Okay.